Hey guys, tonight we're leaving behind our cozy beds, heated blankets, and peppermint tea for something a little less sanitary. Picture this. You open your eyes not to a sunrise through clean glass, but to a room so dark and smoky you're not sure if it's still night. The air smells like wet straw, body odor, and, if you're lucky, a hint of turnip. Welcome to your new life in the Middle Ages, where you probably won't survive the week, let alone the day. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and the local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up before the sun even thinks about rising. There's no rooster crowing in the distance. That's a myth. Instead, it's your neighbor's hacking cough or your child shivering beside you. You're sharing a single-room hut with 7 other people, a goat, and one very judgmental chicken. The floor? It's not stone or wood. Too fancy. It's dirt, maybe mixed with some straw to soak up the, well, let's say moisture. You feel something tickling your arm. It might be a beetle, or a flea, or a piece of yesterday's dinner. You're too tired to care. And the smoke? That's coming from the indoor fire, your only source of warmth, which also happens to slowly suffocate you. Chimneys? Not invented yet for the average peasant. The smoke rises, then stalls near the roof, thickening the air until your lungs get used to breathing like an old coal miner. You cough. Someone else coughs louder. It's a symphony of suffering. Now imagine stepping outside to greet the morning. The air is cold and damp. It bites your cheeks, but not in a charming, snowy postcard way. It just hurts. Mud cakes your ankles instantly. There's no paved road, just a well-worn path of filth created by years of trudging feet and livestock. And speaking of livestock, you dodge a steaming pile left by the neighbor's pig, which, fun fact, is more valuable than you are, literally. That pig might be their only hope of surviving the winter. You? Just another mouth to feed. The smell doesn't improve outdoors either. Between the chamber pot slop, tossed into the streets, and the tannery's delightful blend of boiling urine and animal hide, your nostrils might consider giving up altogether. Historians still argue whether people in medieval towns actually noticed the smell, or if their noses were just numb from lifelong exposure. Back inside, your mattress is basically a sack stuffed with straw or moss if you're extra poor. It pokes you in all the wrong places. Quilts? Huh? You've got a burlap sheet and the warmth of 2 other snoring bodies beside you. Personal space is a luxury, and not in your tax bracket. You didn't even make your bed this morning, no one does. It's just as lumpy when you crawl back in, which you will desperately want to do in about 12 hours, assuming you make it through without being accused of witchcraft or dropping dead of typhoid. A quirky detail for your inner trivia nerd. Some people used to put dried flowers or herbs in their bedding. Not for romance, but to distract from the smell. Lavender was common, if you lived anywhere near it. If not, dried weeds it is. Hope you're not allergic. You stretch your arms, but that's a mistake. The rafters are low and the ceiling's covered in soot. Your fingertips come back dusty, your fingernails already blackened. You wonder if your ancestors ever dreamed of central heating. Probably not. Dreams were more about not dying of dysentery. A quick check of your body reveals a few bug bites, a bruise you don't remember getting, and something on your foot that might be a fungal situation. Don't worry, it'll get worse. But for now, you splash your face with cold water from the wooden basin. Yesterday's water reused from bath day last week. It's not refreshing, but it's tradition. You slip on your only tunic, which you've worn every day this month. It smells like sweat, smoke, and cabbage. But who are you impressing? The goat? The village elder with 3 teeth? Fashion is a concept for the nobility. You are just trying to survive without your boots falling apart again. Here's the thing that people forget. Medieval life wasn't epic or romantic for most folks. It was tedious, cold, loud, and kind of gross. Every small task from getting water to baking bread involved 5 steps, an injury risk, and a prayer that you didn't anger a local spirit or deity. Sure, there were feasts and festivals, but for you, those come around about as often as a solar eclipse. And you're usually working through them anyway. You step over a sleeping child, unlatch the crooked wooden door, and step into the pale light of morning. The mist clings to the rooftops. A rooster finally crows, just for cinematic effect. Somewhere, a dog barks at nothing. You hear the church bell far off, calling the devout to matins. You're too busy for prayer right now. Survival is your only religion. You wonder for a moment if maybe today will be different. Maybe you'll find a coin in the mud, or trade a turnip for a piece of bread with actual crust. But then your neighbor slips in pig droppings and curses loud enough to rattle the crows. And just like that, reality sets in. This is your life now. Welcome to it. You shuffle back inside your smoky little home, and your stomach grumbles with a desperation that suggests betrayal. You're hungry, but that word has lost all romantic meaning. There's no pancake stack, no maple drizzle, no hot coffee waiting. Instead, you open the wooden lid of a clay pot near the hearth and stare at your options. Cold gruel or colder gruel. The texture? Somewhere between lumpy oatmeal and wet plaster. This morning's meal is made from barley or oats, boiled in water until it surrenders its soul. No sugar, no spice, and absolutely nothing nice. If you're lucky, maybe there's a sliver of onion floating like a shipwrecked sailor in the bowl. The same bowl you and 3 other family members take turns using. Spooning is now a literal group activity. You sit down on a 3-legged stool, 4 is a rich person's number, and start to eat. It tastes like what sadness feels like, but you shovel it down. Calories are rare and precious. If you're thinking of skipping breakfast to lose a few pounds, forget it. Every bite you miss is a gamble with weakness. You glance at the windows, or rather the openings in the wall covered with animal skin or oiled cloth. Glass is for cathedrals and kings. The light seeps through, casting a pale gloom. Outside, a cart rumbles past, probably hauling dung to the fields. The sound is rhythmic, oddly comforting. A medieval alarm clock, if you will. Someone belches. That's not rude. It's a compliment to the cook. And this morning, you're the cook. Congratulations, no one died yet. You look at your spoon, carved from wood and a little splintery. It's been passed down a generation or 2. If it breaks, you'll whittle a new one, assuming you've got time between your 15 other daily chores. You glance across the room. There's your cousin, still chewing on a crust of bread so stale it could qualify as a building material. Historians still argue whether medieval diets were balanced. On paper, peasants technically consumed a variety of grains, vegetables, and legumes. In reality, it depended on the season, your landlord's mood, and then whether a cow dropped dead last week. You get some turnips, a few leeks, and if the stars align just right, maybe a piece of dried herring. Meat is for feast days and funerals, mostly funerals. Quirky historical tidbit? Sometimes people added ale to their porridge to make it exciting. But don't imagine craft beer. This was weak, cloudy stuff. Barely enough alcohol to kill a germ, but just enough to make you feel a little buzzed at dawn. Breakfast beer. Because medieval water could betray you with dysentery. And yes, water is a gamble. You drink from wells, streams, or rain barrels. If a dead animal falls in upstream, well, that's just a plot twist. Boiling water is a thing, but you don't always have the fuel or the time. So, ale it is. You hear the baker's bell in the distance. That means the communal oven is hot. Most homes don't have private ovens. It's too dangerous and costly. So villagers take turns bringing dough to the village baker. It's one of the rare moments of community interaction that doesn't involve pitchforks or prayers. You remember today's your turn, and you wrap up your dough in a cloth parcel, still rising from last night. Outside, the baker's cottage smells amazing. yeast, ash, and soot. You trade a small coin or a favor for a turn at the fire. The baker's apprentice is grumpy and missing an eyebrow. You don't ask why, but you hand over your dough and mark it with your family's symbol. If you forget to mark it, someone else might claim it. Dough drama was real.
You linger by the oven, absorbing the heat, letting your fingers thaw from the morning chill. A woman beside you hums a church tune, and a kid tries to sneak a raw bite of someone's loaf. You all pretend not to see. Community means compromise. Back home, your bowl is licked clean, your spoon washed and propped up to dry on the window ledge. That counts as dishes done. There's still a faint layer of gruel stuck to the side, but no one's judging. Probably because they're all doing the same thing. Now it's time to gather. Not thoughts, those are a luxury. Gather eggs, gather sticks, gather herbs if the frost hasn't killed them. Your youngest sibling trails behind you with a basket, half asleep, fully muddy. You send them toward the woods to look for mushrooms. Hope they don't choose the deadly ones. You showed them the illustrations, but drawings in your world are not exactly photorealistic. Meanwhile, the village gossip tells you, Old Man Willem got a chicken egg and a sliver of cheese this morning. The crowd reacts like he won the lottery, which, in fairness, he did. Back in your home, the bread is returned to you. Slightly burnt around the edges, dense in the middle, but fragrant and warm. You break off chunks for the family. No knives, no plates, just fingers and teamwork. The inside is a little damp, but honestly, it's glorious. You savor every bite. One of the kids sings a little song. You hum along. For 5 brief minutes, the world feels manageable. Then a horn blows in the distance. Trouble in the fields. Someone stole turnips again. Or maybe it's just a lost pig. Either way, your moment of breakfast peace has ended. You tie your belt tight and get ready to move. You step outside, your stomach half full, and your mind already counting how many more meals until Sunday. Because Sunday might mean stew. And stew might mean bones. And bones might mean meat. And that's worth waking up for. You grab a dull little bucket from the doorway, its wooden side stained and slightly cracked, and head toward the communal well, because it's hygiene time, sort of. If you thought breakfast was medieval misery, brace yourself for the ritual of getting clean. First, you have to wait your turn. The line at the well includes a donkey, a boy whistling the same 3 notes over and over, and a woman who glares at you like you stole her firewood last winter. Maybe you did. You don't remember. It was cold. Finally, your turn arrives. You lower the rope carefully, hearing the bucket splash into water that's maybe clean. Probably not. The surface glistens with something oily and there's a smell. Faint, but funky. You try not to think about it. You're not here to drink it. You're here to splash a little on your face and rinse your hands. And maybe scrub under your arms if no one's watching too closely. Back home, you strip off your tunic for what passes as a sponge bath. There's no soap, unless you've been hoarding ashes and animal fat to make your own, which you haven't, because you're not an alchemist or a noblewoman. You dab at your skin with a rag dipped in lukewarm water. It smells faintly of yesterday's cabbage stew. A clean scent, relatively speaking. Let's talk about teeth, or what's left of them. You chew on a birch twig, fraying the end into a fuzzy brush. It tastes like forest floor and gives your gums a mild massage, which is the best you can hope for. Toothpaste? Historians still argue whether medieval folks used anything like it. Some say they rubbed crushed mint or charcoal into their teeth. Others say they didn't bother at all. Judging by the breath of your neighbor, you suspect the latter. Your hair is a problem. If it's long, it's matted. If it's short, it's probably crawling. Lice aren't a sometimes issue. They're an always issue. Everyone has them, even the Lord's daughter with her silk ribbons and faint perfume. There's a flea comb on the windowsill, carved from bone, its teeth worn smooth by use. You scrape through your hair slowly, sighing as you flick 1 bug, 2 bugs, 3 bugs into the fire. They pop like tiny sparks. Baths do happen, once a week if you're ambitious, once a season if you're honest. You share water with your family, and you're probably second or third in line. The phrase, "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater," isn't just colorful. It's a real hazard when everyone bathes in the same tub, in descending order of social usefulness. Here's a strange little detail for your sleepy brain. Some wealthier households perfumed their water with herbs and flowers to mask the scent of weeks-old grime. Others bathed in red wine or milk, but that's more legend than practice. For you, it's a bucket and a prayer. Now let's talk clothing, specifically the piece you just stepped into. It's wool, scratchy, and held together with more hope than stitching. No underwear, no elastic, just a tunic, a belt, and whatever dignity you can salvage. Your socks are made of loosely woven cloth, and they sag halfway down your ankles by mid-morning. The boots? If you have them, they're patched with leather scraps and tied with twine. Most days, you just go barefoot and hope for soft mud. Clothes don't change often, maybe once a week, maybe less. Washing garments is a massive ordeal. Hauling water, heating it, scrubbing with sand or ash, and then drying in the smoke or sun. You don't do that unless absolutely necessary. That stain? Probably butter. That other stain? You don't want to know. You rub a bit of sage under your arms. It's your only available deodorant. Not because it works, but because it smells less bad than you do. You wrap a scarf around your shoulders, not for style, but to keep your neck from freezing when the wind cuts through the village like a knife. You pass someone wearing a linen shift patched with 6 different kinds of fabric, and you don't even blink. Fashion isn't about looking good. It's about staying warm and keeping bugs from chewing directly on your skin. One debate still rattles among scholars. How often did people really clean themselves? Some sources say personal hygiene was surprisingly decent, especially among the Islamic world and parts of southern Europe. Others insist northern peasants went weeks, even months, without a real scrub. Truth is probably somewhere in between, clean enough to function, but never clean enough to feel like you've had a proper shower. There's also the matter of privacy, or lack thereof. Most people undress and wash with siblings snoring beside them, or chickens watching judgmentally from the rafters. If you're modest, medieval life will break that out of you real quick. Public bathhouses once offered a little luxury, steam, warmth, maybe even a conversation. But by your time, many of them have been shuttered. Too much scandal, too many rumors of sinful behavior. You hear whispers about how townsfolk used to bathe together, men and women, separated only by a flickering curtain and a whole lot of imagination. Tempting, but mostly myth. By mid-morning, your body's as fresh as it's going to get. You itch in places you can't reach. Your feet are damp. Your armpits smell like sage and regret. But you're ready. Or at least, you're not actively falling apart, which counts as a win. You gather your tools for the day's labor and slip a rag over your head to keep your hair from blowing into your face. It doubles as sunshade, sweatband, and, when necessary, tissue. Multi-purpose medieval fashion at its finest. You pass a boy chasing a chicken with a stick. You pass a woman emptying a pot into the drainage trench beside the path. You step carefully. One wrong move and it's not mud on your foot. You tip your head toward an elder, who nods back. You don't speak. There's no time for small talk before work. But for a brief second, you catch your reflection in the trough water. A little smudged, a little tired, a little wild-eyed. Congratulations. You're officially medieval.